Hey guys, it's me Becca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog, and so far today I've just done some cleaning and whatnot, and I also started a new book. I started Saltwater by Katie Hayes. This is the dust jacket. The actual book's next to me, and I believe in the UK this is called The Vipers. I want to say. And this is about, in 1992, Sarah Wingate is found dead below the cliffs of Capri, leaving behind her 3-year-old daughter, Helen, despite suspicions that the old money Wingates are involved. Sarah's death is ruled an accident, and every year the family returns to prove that's true. But on the 30th anniversary of Sarah's death, the Wingates arrive at the villa to find a surprise waiting for them: the necklace Sarah was wearing the night she died. Haunted by the specter of that night, the engaged find their legendary immunity pushed to a breaking point. Enlisting the help of a family assistant, Lorena Morano, Helen plots her escape from her paranoid insular family, but when Lorena disappears and an investigation into Sarah's death is reopened, Helen has to confront the fact that everyone who was on Country 30 years ago remains a suspect. Her controlling father, Richard, her wearily lucid aunt Naomi, her distant uncle Marcus, and their circle of friends, visitors, and staff, even Lorana. Her closest ally may not be who she seems. As long hidden secrets about the night boil to the surface, one thing becomes clear: that everyone will leave the island alive and young. And so far, we really start the novel with articles saying what happened. We do get the articles a few times so far in the novel. I just realized I never said what page I'm on. I'm sorry for this chaos, but I'm on page 74. And articles on when Sarah disappeared, and then when her body was found. In an article, when she went missing, people did say they witnessed a disagreement between her and her husband, and when her body was found, it was ruled an accident, even a suicide, possibly. And we see how the family is tight-knit, trying to keep secrets, keep the story straight, as the story does matter, and how people view them. This is a family that cares extremely highly on their reputation, on how people see them, on what's out there about them. And we see how Helen, she once told someone she thought was a friend when she was in college, her story, and how she was as talented of an artist as her mother was, and her own thoughts on what happened and whatnot. And the friend, and this all was supposed to be off the record, and yet this friend wrote up what Helen said and sent it to the outlet, and the family was able to hold a story before it was published, but Helen did face repercussions for what happened. And we see people do seem to think that Richard was involved, that he murdered his wife. This family tries to keep the story straight to prevent any doubt from spreading, and with Helen doing what she did, it almost put a leash on her. The family controls what she does, where she goes, how long she spends at the place. They make her follow a routine, and as wow, Helen seems does resent the money of this family, and as well as the fact money is what makes them noticeable. I guess they don't want to risk the reputation, and she learns that her mother did leave a trust for her, which she was supposed to have full access to when she was 30. Helen is now 33 and doesn't have the money because her father liquidated that funds. So yeah, and it seems like they just want to control everything about Helen's life, and Helen is just so resentful. She has to be the certain figure in order to keep her family happy, in order to have some sense of freedom, and it seems like she doesn't have that freedom. Helen seems they even chose who she dates. And Helen and Lorena, who is Marcus's assistant, who is on that island for vacation. So it seems like she knows she's gonna work. She's gonna have to do with what Marcus wants. Like when the boat that was supposed to take them to Capri is late by an hour, he's like demand a refund, and that's what she does. And she definitely is like an outsider in this close-knit group of people. And not only in her position as the assistant, but the way she grew up is that her mother was quite distant, and it seems like to have eventually left her, and her father was never in the picture. So yeah, like she thinks that money will solve all her problems, and that people are being spoiled. Like she doesn't want to think Helen is Ellen Gate, but Helen is Ellen Gate. Like she is someone who comes from money. Like even though she has all of these restrictions, she is still extremely wealthy. She's able to get away with a lot in the public eye, and as well with Lorena, we learned that she did have something with Helen's boyfriend Freddie. Freddie and Lorena both were addicts, so, and it seems like Lorena's kind of not going over that, but yeah, kind of. She's sober, or trying to like, and Helen is in Marcus's office looking at information about her mother. She wants to remember her mother, even though she was extremely young when she died, and that's the one, like it's more easily like a memory one. When a package arrives containing the necklace from Naples, and Lorena and Helen use this, like they send this to the villa in Capri, have Helen open it in front of the entire family, and there's an envelope in there that's quite threatening, and like happens to, I guess, that causes worry about the family. We see Lorena's POV on the hours leading up to her disappearance, and Helen afterwards, and wondering where Lorena is, and I'm just curious to see when those two, I guess, in sync. But yeah, we see Helen, she also has her own doubts on like if her mother's stuff was really suicidal. If her family, in a way, they did push her, like not physically push her off the cliff, but the way they retreated her, the way they tried to take away freedoms from her and control her, like if metaphorically they did push her. And we do get a flashback with Sarah, how she had to give up this play she was writing because of giving the family like a bad image and like that. How she has to put up with this husband who's quite controlling, quite demanding, and it seems that we see more and more how obsessed Richard is with appearances, especially including in front of the family, and how Sarah, she knew something was gonna happen to her. She knew she was going to die and whatnot. So I'm curious and seeing more of that. It seems like Sarah, like she was quite independent and had a lot of freedoms in her work and her art, and being this family, like she had to watch what she wrote. She had to watch how she did her job and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how far did they push her, and how far is Helen gonna be pushed, if she's gonna end up like her mother, or end up in her own life. And I'm curious in that last page of, not last page, the last line of that summary of, as long hidden secrets about the night boil to the surface, one thing becomes clear: not everyone will leave the island alive. I'm wondering if that one should be thing. If I don't know, if someone's gonna die, or more than one person's gonna die, and really, like, what really happened the night Sarah died, like what pushed her to jump, or who pushed her, or that's what happened, and what will happen with Helen and Lorena. So yeah, so far I would have to say, however, it's not very like atmospheric, I would say. Like I just don't feel like I'm in Italy. I'm in Capri. Like I can feel like I'm on the shoreline of some rich place, but I just don't feel the Italian vibe. If that makes sense. I don't know, but I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely kind of liking seeing how fed up Helen is with being restricted. Like she's 33 and yet hates the fact she's never had a real job, that she doesn't have freedoms that she deserves or should have as someone as a 30-year-old. Like this family is very close knit and very like they keep their guard up, and the way they act, it's like almost like their characters in a play and they're being watched at all times, and listening how far will this act go. So yeah, I think that's all for now, and I'll see you when I see. So it's the next day, and so for today I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. I also had to cut the grass, which I'm glad I did before it started raining. So yeah, and I did do some reading of Saltwater Premium page 176, and I would say I'm definitely liking it a bit more and seeing like I guess like what the West of the family is afraid of. Like we see more of Richard's like I guess paranoia. Oh my god, can I not see? Paranoia, yeah. Then something will happen that will ruin their image. Things will not be so perfect. Like we see really in the end, he's just this younger brother who's envious of his older brother, wants to be like him, and is jealous and is pity and whatnot. Like, yeah. And we see how Lorna, like, it seems like she is the only person Helen feels like she can fully trust to keep her secrets and not use them against her, like not tell anyone about them. Like even through Freddie says that he knew Lorna from when they both were in their like party day. Air was, and Carol was, or Carol. It's C-I-R-O. How to pronounce that properly, but he tells Helen to be wary of her, and as well, Carol is. He was part of this whole plan. Like he was supposed to pick Lorna up when she got the money and take her to Naples, and on his boat, but she never showed up. And Helen, it seems like she doesn't like learning new information about Lorna. As I don't know, to me it seems like she built a picture in her head on who Lorna is and what kind of person she is, and we see how Lorna, she has her own agenda in a way. She has been corresponding with Stan, who wants to take down the family, as Marcus keeps ghosting him when they try to meet and breaking promises on like how he'll give him money for his businesses when he never does. Like he says it's only for financial reasons, but Lorna learns it is more personal than that. We do learn that he was in love with Sarah, Helen's mother, so there was that, and we do see more of Sarah and Richard's relationship, how there were red flags early on, but she ignored them and they put them as like eccentric, artistic, like stuff she wanted to be. Like, they do meet in New York, and we see how when they move to Los Angeles, things change. She's losing opportunities in the theater and becoming more like a trophy wife, something that will just make things look pretty and that Richard can show off and whatnot. We see how she was blocked from writing until Helen was 3, and when she wrote, it was in a way an expose on the family through. It wasn't that, it was just taking their likeness and using that likeness for her characters. And her agent has Richard read this, and he's pissed. And like he doesn't like how the family is portrayed and whatnot, and she asks like what will happen, and he's like, I'll sue when you lose anything. And Sarah knows she's already lost everything, and that makes her more dangerous, she says. And she thinks, oh, Richard's not actually gonna do it. No, he actually will do it because he has his lawyers send a cease and desist to her agent, and the agency is worried of what will happen. There's a potential Sarah will be dropped because of his actions, so yeah, she will have to take care of them. And gradually we see how she was losing herself in LA, like opportunities, friendships, creativity, money, like everything she had in New York she no longer has in LA, and having to rely on her family and becoming more like them and becoming more and more a part of the whole thing. And we learn from news articles featured that the guest mentioned that she tried to kill Richard earlier that day. We do see that scene, and she, Richard, and I think Naomi, Richard's sister-in-law, and really her sister-in-law, they were diving and trying to fish, and she pointed a spear gun at a very large tuna and accidentally hit Richard in the leg. And he was going, she tried to kill me! And Sarah kept saying it was an accident, but no one would listen to her, so yeah, there was that. And we also learned that she and Marcus, they did have an affair, and it's hinted or implied really that Helen is Marcus's daughter. Like, it seems like Sarah was gonna ask Richard for a divorce, like things weren't working out, and it wasn't meant to be sort of thing, which I would have really loved to see that scene, because Richard seems like he's the kind of person who would have taken no for an answer. He would have sued Sarah, turned everyone against her, made her lose everything because he's so petty. Like, he kind of stand the thought of someone in his own family, ruining this perfect picture he has set up. And yeah, I really have liked to see that. And yeah, and with Lorna going missing, Helen goes into her room and sees her things are still there. Like, it's not like she took the money and went away. Like, something did happen. It seems like she wasn't planning to leave the villa, leave Capri. And Helen also discovers a pregnancy test, and she also later on finds Lorna's laptop, and she sees that everything's been erased. Either Lorna or the family scrapped everything from the laptop to hide evidence that might have been on it. And with the deal she made Stan, she was gonna give him this thumb drive with all the evidence she collected on the family and evidence that someone in that family caused Sarah's death. And in exchange, $5 million. Except Stan never got the thumb drive. And so there's that whole thing. And Stan is given Helen a ride back, and they see divers in the water, and yeah, there is a death. Lorna has been killed, and her body was pushed into the water. So there's that, and that's one hit for the family. Another, maybe more bigger hit, is that the police have reopened the investigation into Sarah's death, as new materials related to the case has surfaced. So I'm curious on the, I guess, damage control the family might have to pay, on what will happen, how the family will try to protect their image, and if this will finally break the family, if everything will just fall apart. And I'm wondering, like, what happened in those last few hours before Sarah's death, like, did she ask for a divorce from Richard, and is that why there was a fight? Because there were witnesses that there was a bit of a disagreement and a fight between them before she died, or before she was last seen. So could it have been about that? And why not? I don't know. This here's about the what ifs about the whole thing, but so far I'm enjoying it, and I think I am kind of getting into the atmosphere of Capri, of this Italian town where the witch go and they can both be very visible and both invisible. But I also think recently I've just not really been like feeling like I'm falling into books, like I'm in them, and I think that's just more of a me thing. I don't know, but I'm liking it so far, and yeah, that's all for now. So I'll see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and as you saw, I did go out today. I did decide to go to the beach, which is my first beach day of the year. And the weather was like a roller coaster. Like 1 second it was nice, warm, sunny, and the next it was cloudy but cool. And I didn't swim because the water to me was just cold on my feet. So yeah, but still very beautiful. And yeah, and I did do some reading of Saltwater Premium, page 226, and I'm liking it, definitely. I was about to say things are getting juicy with certain revelations that have been made. I does what, like, a page on, like, learning who, that Lorna, like, was pregnant. They were able to do a blood test and figure that out, the police, I mean. And we learn who the baby daddy is. And Helen also makes a or reveals something to Freddie about her relationship with Carol, and it's just messy. And also, her father makes a revelation to her. The family, they were like prepared for the police to show up to question them about Lorna. However, they were, it seems, taken off guard by the fact that they're reopening the investigation into Sarah's death. Helen thought they knew because that article was on like page 3 or 4 of the paper, and she thought all of the family was paid off the newspaper to kind of try and bury it. So it seems like this fact is like haunting Helen's father the most. She sees his reaction, and he leaves the villa and goes to the cliffs where her mother fell. And he reveals that he killed Helen's mother. He killed Sarah. He didn't push her. They got into an argument because she wanted a divorce, and Sarah was upset with the fact, like, or not upset, but she really came to the realization that everything from the play that she wrote, which Marcus learned about and wasn't that upset about, to the fact about the divorce, which would probably have been made quite public with all the court proceedings and all that jazz, which are just so obsessed with keeping up with appearances and trying to make the family look good, and it's kind of driven them in between them, and but that's not really the reason behind the divorce. This wasn't working out, and they weren't meant to be, and there was an argument. She pushes him, and because of her, she's standing on the edge of the cliff. She loses her footing and falls. So yeah, there is that. And Helen, she did go back to Lorna's room and saw that the laptop, the pregnancy test, and there was something else that went missing from her room. As well, someone took Sarah's necklace, which Helen was keeping in her nightstand, and took it. They then returned it. And Helen, while she and Freddie are going to look at rings, and with jewelry. She asks the jeweler to look at the necklace, and he's like, "It is antique, but it's fake. Like it's fake gold." And this comes into play with Helen's grief about Lorna's death, how she feels so guilty on her part in it, because if she and Lorna hadn't conceived this plan, and Lorna wouldn't have been killed. And we learned that the gold in the necklace is fake, and it's connected to all the hoaxes over the years that pulled the family closer, and how everything's coming together. And that's all I've learned so far. I'm now curious on other revelations that might come into light. And yeah, I didn't do much reading this because I wasn't really reading much today, but yeah. And I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I did go out today. I had to run a few errands today, and when I was out and about today, I did finish Saltwater by Katie Hayes, and I definitely had fun with the plot and the messiness of this family and the complexities and what they'll do to protect their reputation. And overall I gave it 4 stars. And we see how Helen, she's noticing a lot of similarities between Lorna and Sarah's deaths and the way they lived their lives, especially with the fact Marcus apparently had an affair with both, and they share a history, and Lorna's story is almost like a repeat of Sarah's, where they got involved with this rich family and things got out of control, and the similarities in their stories do continue on throughout the rest of the novel after their deaths. And Naomi does kind of confirm what I thought was implicated earlier of Marcus being Helen's father. Helen confronts Richard at a party on this private island with the play, and he seems surprised with the affair between Marcus and Sarah. He said that he read enough of the play to get a gist of the play and gist of what Sarah might be trying to do, which is ruin a reputation, but he never read the entirety of the play where the affair is kind of mentioned. Helen learns that he was afraid of a divorce happening, as the financial records of the family might surface during the proceedings, and we do learn that Marcus and Richard's father, they made a few bad investments and lost everything, and there's just no money, and Marcus has been trying to make good investments to restore the family's name and then get back the money. Like, they've been known, like, oh, their family, like, they're all owed money, when really the money's just not there anymore. It's like there's the reputation that's there in their story. And for years they've been living off Naomi's generosity and the money from her family. And in the flashback we see how Marcus, he's going to look for Sarah's body. He's planning to take the jewelry off it just to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. And he sees that she's still alive, and despite her struggling to get away from him, he is able to take her back to the villa, and Naomi meets them and helps them deal with her. And yeah, then it does a bunch of back and forth as we do in the presidency. Richard confront Marcus over the affair in the play. During the argument, they're pushing each other. They're fighting, and Marcus at one point, he pushes Richard, but he's standing on the edge of some cliffs, and he falls and he dies. And you see how Richard is arrested, and he doesn't tend to plead guilty. Like, he doesn't even try to fight it, as there were so many witnesses who saw what happened. And the police, they do tell Helen that he'll probably spend the rest of his years in prison in Italy, and he gave her everything, the money that they have now, and whatever belongings belong to them. She will now have to hope that Naomi will continue on with her generosity, as the house is under her name. So there's that hope. And that's still complicated because Naomi has this hatred, this grudge towards Sarah at this entire time, has hated her for this. And we see how Naomi was just so jealous and insecure about her marriage with Marcus, and Helen just reminds her a lot of Sarah, that she doesn't really seem to continue on in her generosity to this family. And we see how Helen deals with Naomi, and yeah, I do like how Helen is finally able to get this fresh start, this away from her birth family, I guess, and with a family that's always been there for her, with Cairo and his mother, who's always been there for her. And we learn as well who's on the necklace, and this was something I wasn't really expecting. And we learn how they helped Sarah her all along, really. And this person wasn't who they said they were. And yeah, I'm not gonna leave it at that. And I do like it. Like a couple of years, there was an epilogue of like 2 years later, and we see how Helen is like, she still feels guilty over what happened with Lorna, and she starts thinking that maybe she's seen Lorna, like it's like she's being haunted by her ghost. And yeah, that's where the story of Lorna and Sarah continue to be really similar. And yeah, overall I just had a lot of fun seeing this messiness and seeing like, I don't know, seeing everything that led up to Sarah's death. And yeah. And I will talk about what book I'm planning to read next tomorrow. And yeah, that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I've not really done much today just because I've been feeling well. I don't know why, but yeah. But I did do some reading, and I started at Two Towers today, which is the second book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I don't think this needs like an introduction as it's quite well known, but if for some reason you're unaware of what this is about, this follows Frodo, who's this hobbit, like a very small creature from what I gathered, and he lives in this place called the Shire, and he has to go on an adventure to find this ring, and he has some companions with him, and yeah, that's basically it. And with this second volume so far, I've only read about almost 70 pages. Because this is like a second volume, it's sort of like, okay, The Lord of the Rings is really one long book, but it's been like separated into parts in a way my edition is. It's like page 1 is like page 402, and I'm on page, where's my bookmark? I'm on page 470, so far about 68 pages, but yeah, it is, and you know that because I'm going to be referencing 470, I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, but with this one, the group has been separated, with Sam and Frodo leaving to go after Sauron, I think it was. I don't know exactly remember the exact details of the previous volume, I guess, just because I did read that book like a year ago, and my memory's not the best, so. But there's a fight, and I'm so sorry if I'm gonna butcher these names. I'm only reading physically, but Gamel, Argon, and Legos, they find Boromir dead after fighting orcs, and after setting him down the river on like a funeral boat. They decide to follow Frodo and Sam, who have quite a head start, and along the way they do bump into some riders whose leader tells them they found the orcs, killed them, and burned their bodies in one massive pile alongside goblins who were with them. And Aragorn, he inquires if there were any hobbits with them because they are looking for Merry and Pippin. And then later doesn't believe so, but isn't sure as well, they just burned bodies that were there. So and he invites Aragon and his group to come with him to his leader. Aragon declines. He tries to pursue him to join them, and eventually the leader just allows Aragon and the group to head in their own way, but then some horses, and that he expects them to return. And the three of them, like, they take their horses and find the site of the orcs' last camp, and they see the piles of bodies burned. They do think that Merry and Pippin are amongst the dead, and as there's still fire, they said they without cutting on any live trees, and yeah, they just stay there for a bit, and they each take turns taking watch, and when one of them is taking the watch, they see this figure by the campfire, and then he just disappears alongside the horses who seem to have been spooked. And they believe with the way this person was dressed and all that it's Sarman. And that's it for now. And we do see Pippin and Merry like being killed by the orcs. Several groups are like working together, and each do have their orders to essentially bring Merry and Pippin to their leaders unscratched, unharmed, in one piece, so they can be interrogated on their adventures so far. We see how they're moved and treated like the sacks, and how the riders, or when the riders attack, which gives them an opportunity to escape, which they do, and went into a person known as an ant, E-N-T, and they're a very old group of people, and I was surprised about hobbits, because hobbits are totally, they're not the four like oldest groups in the world, I guess, and they're also a group who is slowly dying as they lost their wives. They didn't lose them in the sense they all died, they lost them in the sense the wives just up and left them, like, and they cannot find them, and that's what I mean by law. And it seems like they are a group who really like, well, especially the older generation are people who care heavily about the land, about the trees, about protecting them and keeping them safe. And I'm saying the oldest generation because the person they found who won't give them his name says the younger and just don't appreciate it as much, and there's no more younglings due to the fact there's no more and wives. And this person agrees to help Pippin and Merry in any way they can, and brings them to a meeting with the remaining. And yeah, the point about it is that Pippin and Merry are just meeting, and yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, I'm liking some of it. I don't know if it's going over, if it's just the writing, but I just don't really feel like I'm in the story yet, or if it's because I think I read the Fellowship of the Rings in August of last year, and it is July, so that could be it in my horrible memory, but I just don't feel so connected to the story yet. I'm definitely intrigued, so yeah, there's that. But yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I did go out today. I went to this huge tag sale event this town was hosting, and I didn't film, nor did I really get anything, just because it was really crowded. Like, there was a lot of people, and the sale was happening outside and inside this church, and yeah, the stuff I care about, like jewelry and pretty dishware, just nope. Nope, like you could not move at all. Like, it was a bit claustrophobic a bit, like, not that I couldn't breathe, but there's this a lot of people, and yeah. But I did get one thing, I did get a book. I bought Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which I'm very much intrigued about, and yeah. On my way back, I just did my grocery shopping and whatnot, and I did do some reading today and last night after Two Towers. I'm quite tired, so I just didn't really do a lot. That's what, about 60 pages. So I'm now on page 532, and yeah, I'm just thinking this is fine. Like, I don't really know if the writing's like my cup of tea or what, but yeah. We see how Mary, like, he seems to believe the ends they're patient, slow, and sad. Like, they don't really have much to live for anymore, but he does believe they can be roused. He just, doesn't want to be on the other side when they do. Treebeard leaves them with a younger end while he and the others go to talk to end of another community, it seems. And that conversation, like, is quite quick, and they all agree they will help the hobbits, and they all plan to go to Isengard, where Saruman is. And it seems it has roused something in it, and as Treebeard does think so, as he says so, and I don't know, they just feel more alive again. Like, he knows their kind will end. The end will eventually die out due to the fact, like, the Endwives are just no longer around. But why not do something meaningful before the end comes for them? I don't know, I like that just because it's like, why waste the time you have left when you can do something that's meaningful to you, that you think is important and important to others. And we see how Argon, Gimel, and Legos, they find Gandalf, who is dressed similar to that figure they saw the previous day. And I like how Saruman and Gandalf, they're both wizards, like they're described quite similar, but different, with Gandalf dressed in all white and Saruman dressed in black, typically like symbols of good and evil, but Gandalf exactly is not. I don't know, some things have come to the surface, and he's just not seen as the best person. And Gandalf does know Treebeard and ensures that Merry and Pippin are safe. He takes them to Theoden and convinces him to stop listening to his advisor, Wormtongue, who has been corrupting him mentally and physically, and come with them to war, which Theoden does. And he doesn't have any male heirs or any male relatives in the castle to, like, I don't know, kind of babysit him in the phone, and one of them is, advises that he puts his sister in charge while he is gone. And he gives Gandalf, oh my word, I just wrote the horse's name. I'm so tired, I'm so sorry. But a horse which he apparently was loaning him as a gift when they leave. Gandalf leaves as he needs to run an errand. And they leave, end up in a fight with an army of Saurons, which involve orcs. At one point there, it seems like they will be losing as the orcs are just forcing them to retreat into this deep. And the fight isn't looking good for them until something changes and the land changes, which none of them know for sure. It's where there was grass, it's now forest of trees, and it's like it comes out of nowhere because Gandalf is a wizard. They suspect it was him, but he's like, I didn't do it. And speaking of Gandalf, he does show up with an army, which is very convenient. My word, very convenient. And yeah, after the fight, he says he'll be going to Isengard, and we're like, Theoden to come with him, which he agrees. Then, as Gandalf plans to talk to Saruman, what that conversation will look like, who knows, but yeah, I think right now I'm really intrigued to see what Frodo and Sam are up to, like what their journey is like, and yeah, I'm just curious about what's next, about how all of this will end, and how, and yeah. I think that's all for now. And so it's the next day, and I've just done some cleaning and whatnot. And I did do some more reading of The Two Towers Put Me on page 606, and I am in book 4. And why about today's the group heading to Isengard with Gandalf, who once talked to Saruman, thinking he can persuade him to stop his ways and stop, his evil ways of things. And they get there and see no one is there, and see it's kind of, there's a bit of a wreckage. And they are reunited with Merry and Pippin, who tell them when they arrive with Anne, they fought the orcs and men who were on Saruman's side, and they changed the way the river flows. The orcs were killed and the men were sent away. Saruman tried to escape but failed, and has barricaded himself essentially in his tower, where he will remain a prisoner and continue to watch as his kingdom falls apart. And he is with Tongue, who did come to warn him but arrived too late. Gandalf does go to talk to him and brings the others, and this was something I like. Gandalf warns them to be wary of Saruman, especially of his voice, and we see how his voice has a different effect on different people. Like some of the people in the group, they feel calm and almost persuaded by Saruman, but others, they feel off-put by his voice. I don't know, I just found that very much interesting. And we see how Gandalf tries to get him to surrender, and he refuses. Gandalf gives him reasons on why he should, as his servants left, and Saruman just refuses, and Gandalf tells Saruman he is being kicked out of the council and destroys his staff, which upsets him. Tongue throws this sphere at them, which misses, and Pippin picks it up. Gandalf takes it from him, they leave, while then stay to keep guard. And Pippin, he can't help but be curious about this sphere, and while Gandalf is asleep, takes it from him. Gandalf is holding on to it in a bag of sorts, and Pippin just switches out this bag, and Pippin sees something in the sphere, and he tells Gandalf what it is, which is something that happened a long time ago, and they all need to leave the campsite area due to a messenger from Mordor being seen, and Sauron will come to ask questions, and since it was Pippin who looked into the sphere, he'll be after him especially. So Gandalf and Pippin go off, and the others do separate, and that's the end of book 3. And book 4, which I just started, is we see Frodo and Sam make their journey and how they went into Gollum. They do capture him, hold him hostage, and are planning to continue. So he does try to escape, but they tie him up with this elf enchanted rope, or try to, and he reacts. He says it hurts him and whatnot, and they will be bringing him on their adventure. And it seems like Gollum has no choice, and they try to make him promise he won't run off if they don't use the rope, and he tries to promise on his most precious, which is the ring. He tries to swear on it, meaning he will have it. On Frodo switches the but the phrasing, and says he will swear by it, as he doesn't have it, but he does desire it. So yeah, I'm curious on seeing how that goes. And I'm also, something I'm liking is, there's a line on page 533, I think, where them talking how these caves were created, how man destroyed the earth by mining for gold and whatnot, and it's just how men have destroyed this planet. I don't know, that was something I just like, because the world is beautiful, was beautiful naturally, and then men came and were like, we want to see what's in it, what can we take from it, and I don't know, I just very much enjoyed that line, and yeah, that's my thoughts for now. I think so far I'm this, I don't know, like so far I'm very much intrigued to see how all of this ends, and but yeah, it's just, I don't know, so far I'm thinking it's fine, I'm enjoying it, but yeah, my final thoughts will be in my next vlog. And this is it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below telling me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, all those links are in the down bar below. I will see you guys next time I post.